Hi there, and welcome back to Happily Home Cooking. Today for dinner, I'm going to show you how I make this easy and super creamy and delicious chicken Florentine casserole. This is a great way to use up any leftover cooked chicken you may have. I'm going to be using a super convenient Costco rotisserie chicken, and we'll be making a simple fresh breadcrumb topping as well. This will give a nice little crunch to the top of our creamy casserole. I love dishes like this because they're so easy to prepare. You can do most of the work early on in the day, and when dinner time comes, you just pop it in the oven. So if you are ready to see how we make our family favorite chicken Florentine casserole, stay with me and I'm going to show you how we do this. So I'm going to start off by prepping my chicken. We're going to be using half of this rotisserie chicken, and I'm going to show you in my next video what I do with the other half. So if you want to see that, make sure you are subscribed and turn on your notifications so you can check that one out as well. So this half a chicken will end up being around 2 cups or so of meat, and I'm just going to pull a skin off, get it off the bones, and you can either chop or pull your meat apart, kind of shred it if you like. However you like to do it is just fine. I do suggest if you shred it, don't make them too small or else they'll get kind of lost in your pasta and everything, so leave them in some good sized chunks. I'm going to get this leg and thigh here as well, along with the breast meat. I like to use a combination of the light and dark meat, but of course if you just have breast meat or just have leg or thigh meat, any chicken meat will work just fine for this recipe. And as I said, I like to do a lot of this prep ahead of time, either early in the day or even the day before. So I'm just going to pop all this chicken into a plastic container and pop it into the fridge until I'm ready to assemble this casserole. I like to take my time and break it down into little baby steps sometimes. All right, so next we will chop half of a large yellow onion. And then I'm just going to set this aside in a bowl. There we go. And by the way, can we take a moment to appreciate this adorable little Mickey Mouse bowl that we got at Disneyland recently? So cute. All right, next up, we're going to get a little cheese ready. I'm using about 5 ounces of cheese. I'm doing half of it Swiss and half of it Monterey Jack. We have some of those kind of sandwich slices that again we get at Costco. So it's about 3 slices or so of each kind of cheese. And I'm just going to kind of thinly slice this so that it will melt easily into our sauce. You do not have to go out and buy this specific kind of cheese though. I bet this would be delicious with lots of different kinds of cheeses, maybe Gouda or even mozzarella or Parmesan. So let me know if you use something else. Let me know in the comments what you used and how you liked it. All right, so that's really everything we need to chop for our prep. How easy was that? So we're gonna start cooking in a pan over a medium heat. I'm going to melt down about 2 tablespoons of butter. And we will add our chopped onion, and we're just going to stir this around and let it cook for a few minutes until those onions start to soften. Then we will add about 2 teaspoons of minced garlic. Again, I buy this already minced up in a jar from Costco, of course, so there's less prep for me. And we'll just stir this around for a minute, just until that garlic is nice and fragrant. I'm going to get any little brown bits from our onions cooking up off of our pan to incorporate all of that good flavor. Then we will add 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour, and again, just stir that around to kind of coat all of our onions and garlic with that flour, letting it cook just for a minute. Now we will add in our liquids. I'm starting with 1 cup of milk. I am using 1% milk today, but you can really use any kind of milk that you have on hand. I'm sure would work just fine. So I just keep stirring this as I go, adding a little bit of milk at a time to make sure all of that flour gets broken down and dissolved into our milk so we don't end up with clumps in our sauce. Then I will also add 1.5 cups of water. And about 1.5 teaspoons or so of chicken bouillon, or I like to use the Better Than bouillon. If you prefer, you could definitely just use chicken broth instead of the water and bouillon if that's what you have on hand. And again, just stirring this, getting it all broken down, making sure that that bouillon is dissolving into the rest of our sauce and nothing sticking to the bottom. We're also going to give this some salt and pepper to your taste. And let this cook until it begins to thicken just a little bit. Now in goes our cheese. Stir it around to help it melt. Give it a hand here. And this is a good time to turn your heat down to low. We really don't need much heat to melt the cheese, and we definitely don't want to burn any of our sauce to the bottom. And once that cheese is all melted in, we are ready to add our last ingredient to our sauce. We are going to be adding some sour cream. We will add 1/2 cup of our sour cream into our sauce. And you guessed it, stir it in to incorporate until your sauce is nice and smooth and creamy. Now that our sauce is done, we'll make sure we give it a taste. See if you want to adjust any of the seasonings, again, to suit your taste. And when you think it's good, go ahead and remove it from the heat. We're going to set this aside and let it start to cool down a bit. Next thing I'm going to do is cook up our pasta. I'm using rigatoni pasta today, but this is another thing that you could easily swap out for any kind of pasta that you like or have on hand. We'll be using about 8 ounces of our pasta. Just add that into our boiling water and cook it to your package directions. We want to cook this to where it's al dente. You don't overcook your pasta because we will still be baking this casserole as well. So just al dente. Once our pasta is all cooked, we are going to be draining it, and then I'm going to rinse it with cold water a couple times to help it cool down and stop cooking quickly. I'm going to use this handy dandy little strainer tool that I have. It's super handy. It just clips onto the side of your pot and makes it super easy to strain your pasta. Don't mind my towel. My oven mitts are currently in the washing machine, but again, we use what we got, right? Now that we have everything all prepped, we can assemble our casserole whenever we want. I'm going to add my cooled pasta into my sauce, along with our chicken that we shredded up earlier. I'm also going to throw in some fresh baby spinach for some veggies. I love anything that is a meal all in one. Now is when we play the game of how much spinach can I fit into the pan that I decided to use today. The answer is I was able to get about 6 ounces of spinach into this pan, and it's just the right amount. Now you may ask yourself, why would you do this all in that one pan if it's a little too small? That's a great question, but the answer is I like using this pan because I can not only use it on the stovetop, but it is also oven safe, so I can just have one pan to wash. But if you do not enjoy playing this game, or you're smarter than I am, you could do this in a large pot and then just transfer it to a separate casserole dish. Either way, it can be refrigerated at this point until you are ready to bake your dinner. When you're ready, we will pop this into the oven with a lid on or cover it with foil, and we will bake this at 400 degrees for 40 minutes. If you are just pulling this out of the fridge, I like to go ahead and put it in the oven while it is preheating. Next up, we're going to make our fresh breadcrumb topping to go on top of our casserole. To make our fresh breadcrumbs, I'm going to use my food processor, and we are going to use about 3 ounces of fresh bread. I'm using about 3 pieces of white bread because, again, that's what I have on hand. I bet sourdough would be really good, or whatever you have would probably be just fine. We're going to turn this on and let it go for about 20 seconds or so until that bread is broken down into little fine pieces. Next, we're going to be adding about 2 tablespoons of melted butter. I'm going to slowly add this in through the top feed tube as I pulse the breadcrumbs just to make sure it all gets evenly distributed. Okie doke, then the last thing we're going to add to our breadcrumb topping is a 1/4 cup of shredded Parmesan cheese, or grated Parmesan, of course, would work totally fine, along with a teaspoon of dried parsley. Pop your lid back on and give it a whirl a few more times, pulsing it just again to make sure that it is all completely incorporated. And there we go, fresh breadcrumb topping is ready to go on our casserole. So when your 40-minute timer has gone off on that casserole, go ahead and pull it out of the oven. Ah, there it is. It looks so good. I'm going to grab a spoon and just give it a little bit of a stir here just to kind of mix in the spinach and everything. Now, even though this casserole is not saucy, the sauce has really absorbed into the pasta in a good way where it still is nice and creamy and it's not dried out at all. So don't worry about that because we have had our fair share of dried out pastas. This is super delicious. On top of our pasta, I will just gently sprinkle all of that fresh breadcrumb topping. When clumps fall out like this, I'm just going to kind of break them up with my fingers a little bit, and we'll just sprinkle this all over the top of the casserole as evenly as possible. And then it's back into the oven, leaving it uncovered this time to brown those breadcrumbs for 10 more minutes or until they are a beautiful golden brown, like so. Hot and bubbly, creamy on the inside with our chicken and spinach and pasta with great little crunchy breadcrumbs on top. This is a great dish all in one. Don't forget to taste test it before you serve it to your family. Always got to perform that quality control. Oh yeah, this is good to go. It's dinner time. And that, my friends, is how we make our Chicken Florentine Casserole. I hope you enjoyed this recipe. Give it a thumbs up if you do. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications for our channel so that you will get to see what we do with the other half of that rotisserie chicken. Until next time, have a great day and happy home cooking!